is advised.
Greetings, and a very warm afternoon. Welcome to the Masai Mara of Kenya. We have a mating pair here, and this lion has 2 lionesses. Welcome aboard your very own Safari Live from the African wilderness. Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to the Masai Mara of Kenya. We have a lioness by the name of Olashe, with 2 lionesses here in the Mara. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. Look at this. The weather is super nice, 30 degrees Celsius. It's warming up. These lions are in the shade, and interesting thing, he's been mating 2 lionesses. How interesting is this? Look at the one just rolling over there. He's just mated him. And the one to the right will come and also mate with him. These lionesses are from the Olololo pride, and it seems like Olashe is having a very hard job here. Earlier this morning, we saw this mating, and I think it's just begun today. So this mating will only carry on for about 3 to 4 days. That is how long lionesses take before they can conceive, and the mating carries on for all those days. So previously, one of the lionesses, as we wait here, we will get to see her. She has the tracking collar. She looked like she was in estrus, and she was being courted by a lion by the name of Olashe. Oh, sorry, not Olashe, but Splitnose. Splitnose, aka Bob Marley, was courting her. But for 2 days it carried on, and we thought that she might not be interested with him. And then today we came across this guy here. Seems like he came over and kicked out the big male by the name of Bob Marley or Splitnose. It's a very tiring job, so that's why they're out here in the shade. It's too hot, about 30 degrees Celsius or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So lionesses will split up from the pride and then go mate, and then thank you for your question. Yes, a lion can mate with 2 lionesses or multiple lionesses from the same pride. As witnessed here, it's not unusual, but we don't often see a male mating with 2 lionesses. Yes, it's happening. These lionesses are from the Olololo pride, and yes, they're mating with 1 male over here. How interesting is this? So lionesses come into estrus about every 2 years after they've successfully weaned their cubs. Or maybe if they're not successful, if maybe they lost their cubs to either being killed by another lion, they come into estrus after 3 to 4 weeks. But this Olololo pride is big, so they're happy that the young ones were raised into weaning, and we've seen some of the sub-adults from the Olololo pride. About a day or 2 ago, they managed to pull down a big buffalo. So that tells you that this pride is actually quite successful. The bigger the pride number, the more the success. That is super interesting. Now the lioness with the collar is approaching Olashe. So they have to mate a couple of times or multiple times. This induces ovulation. And of course, the male that is mating gets to be the father of the cubs by mating multiple times. And he's going to rest. So this guy seems like he had a tough job. As soon as one finishes, then he rests a little bit and then the other one comes in. So we're going to wait here for a little while, and as we do that, let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
Jumbo everyone, a very good afternoon. Yes, we are here in the Masai Mara, and look what I just found. A very young cheetah, very shy, so I can't get really close to him or her. I haven't actually managed to really tell if it's a she or a he, but I hope I can get to do that before the end of the show. This is cheetah, an animal known to be found in short grassy plains of East Africa, well spread all the way to southern Africa. Jumbo everyone, my name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungei. We are here in the plains of Mogoro area to show you what is happening, and our first animal to share with you this afternoon is the cheetah. It's somewhere there, Bungei. You will find it. There we go. Cheetahs are not very common in the Masai Mara nowadays, and the main reason is there is very long grass. When the grass gets shorter, we do get a higher population, but this has been the first one that I've seen in the last about 4 months. It is a jackpot for me. I'm very happy. Hope you know the same for you. Looks like he ate something. I would go with a he at the moment because he is panting. And when he walked from where I first saw him, he had a bit of blood below his chin. So maybe he had eaten something small. Cheetahs are very vulnerable, to all cats or to all predators, hyena, leopard, lion, and wild dogs. So they're always on the lookout, very careful, because they can get killed. This is the fastest land mammal, you know that. And they can catch top speeds of up to 70 miles an hour. These plains of the Masai Mara, look at that yawn, are perfect for that kind of pace because some places are very flat and they're able to accelerate to the top speed to bring down their favorite prey, the cheetah. I'm hoping that it's going to get up quite soon. At a distance, you can tell there is the annual buffet for all the predators, the wildebeest and the zebra. Of course, they're too big for him or her, but if it's a coalition of more than 5, they're able to bring down a wildebeest. He's very interested in a Land Cruiser that was passing, and that's why he put his head up. If you look below his chin, you can tell there's a bit of blood, and I think he ate something earlier on. Looks like a very young one and very shy. I'm gonna stick around here. Let's see what other live location has to offer.
Good afternoon, everyone. So glad to be with you. Here we have Ribbon having a bit of a spa day in one of the few remaining puddles after our rains the last couple of days. Well, it's still a gloomy day down here in Juma in the Sabi Sands, but it is warm. It's about 27 degrees Celsius, 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Still could be rainy. My name is TRISHALA, and I've got Mpo, not Smooth, but Mpo on camera with me. So we are thinking, besides the fact that we've got our hyena roadblock, that we wanted to head south and also check out the hyena den. But obviously, Ribbon is not there. She's busy here lying down in the mud. Lovely reflection. The hyenas love to do this. You see it quite often. They'll find a nice little spot of mud or water like this, and they just hang out there, just for a bit of a relaxing day, especially if you've got two cubs that run around as well as other little ones at the den. You would need a break every now and then. She has found a puddle that is smack bang in the middle of the road that goes from the center of Juma straight to the south. She's just letting everyone know that she's the queen. Got some Natal spurfowl trying their luck here. Sometimes they can get very scared if she moves. It's a little bit entertaining. Are you gonna cross? You both made it unscathed. Well done, spurfowls. She's been flicking her tail up every now and then and getting some water on top of her back. Get her nice and cool. Like I said, it has warmed up. A bit of the road and other areas have dried up a little bit, but we're expecting rain the next few days too. I'm going to try and go around her. Hopefully I'll be able to. And head to the south and see what we can find around Twin Dams.
Dumela, Wamahwetri, Goeiemorgen, welcome. Welcome to Tswali Kalahari. Got a big surprise for everybody today, this afternoon. Good afternoon, my name is Kyle, and behind camera is Glenn. Give us a thumbs up there, Glenn. Good afternoon, everybody. What a surprise we have in store for you guys today. Look at this, brand new additions. Brand new little lion cubs. They were located this morning by part of our guiding team, and they're still currently at this den site where this mom's got them hidden in and amongst a big shepherd's tree. Obviously a lot of shade for these little ones and a lot of cover for them to hide in between the tangled mess of the branches when she goes off to hunt. But how cute is that little thing? Busy taking a little afternoon drink, and we thought because of this morning we were just birding, we thought we would find some mammals for this afternoon. Wow, how adorable. So it's the first time that I'm seeing these little cubs. Seems like she's had 3. And you can see how hot she is, how she's panting. When we first got here, her mouth was open and she was just gasping for air. It's pretty warm today. As the days go on, we're getting hotter and hotter here. Jenna, cuteness overload. It is definitely a full dose of cuteness here, and it's just going to get better. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Jennifer. This for me is very special. Always seeing young, brand new additions into this complex ecosystem is such a privilege. You know, the birth of life. It's incredible. they're still wobbly on their feet. And they're actually fighting each other there to try and get to a mammary gland. How special. I can't believe that we have finally found these guys. Yeah, so a toasty 28 degrees Celsius. So that's why this female is panting so hard and she's laying in the shade. Or a nice 82 Fahrenheit. So it is fairly warm today. And warmth isn't a worry of these little cubs. For all of our kids out there, I hope you're enjoying this. If you have any questions, please let me know. kidsquestions@wildearth.tv, or with the rest of everybody, #wildearth or @FC. Any questions or comments, please don't hesitate. Oh, a little bit of a tussle going on. And moms at this stage need to be extremely patient. They've got the world of patience. Those cubs will bite and play and run over, and she will just take it all in. In her motherly duties. Once again, these little ones being provided everything that they need. So, me to all the mothers out there, I salute you. Thank you for being mothers. Unbelievable. So she has found the perfect spot. And this is actually a den site that's been used multiple times by female members of this pride. It's perfect. Lots of cover. Glenn, can we get an outward shot there? So just look where she's got these little ones stuck away. Beautiful old shepherd's tree. And you can see how those thick branches are tangled in with each other. How amazing.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunday afternoon bush walk. Yes, we are on foot again, which is marvellous. My name is James Hendry. On camera is BK, the biceps. He cannot show you his thumb because he's holding the camera. And we are talking so quietly because there is a herd of elephants in front of us. And I think that this herd of elephants could be aware of us because the wind, unfortunately, is blowing directly from us towards the elephant. And so we just want to try and stay quite careful. I'm just going to move a little bit down this way, BK, because there we go. There the others are. Yeah, no, they're definitely aware of us. You can see how the one second from the front turned, lifted its head up slightly. It's perfectly safe because they're down through two little dips. But it's always a good idea to be very aware of which way the wind is blowing. So special to be on foot again, and especially with elephants. Especially on a Sunday afternoon as well. It's the perfect time for a little stroll, especially as we've been off air for the last 2 drives on account of some technical glitches and the weather. And now it's a lovely warm afternoon, and you won't be able to hear it particularly well, but the birds are singing their heads off around us. And the starlings and some hornbills and various others. There's another big elephant coming through now. There are quite a few of them here. They're probably heading down to the water. Slowly. You see the other one? Yes, Rosalind, elephants can attack you on foot. They can attack you in a vehicle. They can attack you on foot. They can attack you in a tent. They can attack you anytime they feel like it. The question is not so much can they, but will they? And what is the likelihood of them attacking you? And the answer is, as long as you stay at a respectful distance and you try and view them without them knowing that you're even there, then it's pretty safe. Even if they were to come to see us, at this distance and with the topography like it is, we'd be perfectly safe. But I wouldn't go any closer than this with a cow and her calf like that, and with the wind blowing straight towards them. If the wind was coming from the other side, I would probably go down through here and up onto the next little ridge, and we could probably then watch them without them knowing that we were there. But they're aware of us, definitely. They keep looking, lifting their heads and looking slowly this way. They're not going to come rushing this way, but they know that there is some human around. There's a nice little one there. They're certainly not freaked out by us by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that they're aware. The other thing to keep doing is just look around, make sure that there isn't anything else close by.
Well, when you've been at an all-you-can-eat buffet, this is what you feel like afterwards. Absolutely exhausted. So as you can see, that's Lagatha, the lioness. She is busy sleeping off a very full belly after a busy day. I'm Mike, and you've joined us at Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy with Seb behind the camera. And I must tell you something exciting happened earlier today. Lagatha, in all of her round-bellied glory, managed to kill another animal. So she is resting there in the shade of this marula tree that you can see behind here. And she managed to, some nyalas came nearby and she chased one down and managed to catch a nyala as well. And we can't see the carcass from where we are. But earlier on today we did see it, so it's pretty exciting. She's obviously doing incredibly well for herself. And that nyala must have literally stepped on her tail for her to be interested at all in trying to catch another animal when she's got such a full belly. But I'm sure all of you will agree that we're all so excited to see that she's doing that well. Being on her own, there's always the worry that something's going to happen to her, that she's not going to be successful, that she's not going to be able to look after herself. But she is doing phenomenally. I can't tell you how amazing. She's by far and away my favorite lioness I've ever encountered in the bush. Seb, what do you reckon?
I agree.
Even Seb says she's in absolutely huge respect for this lioness to be on her own and still managing to survive. And she's young. Speculation was that she was 1.5 years old. I think she's maybe 2 years old, somewhere around there, but she's definitely still very young. And she's doing phenomenally. Look at that belly. See how she's panting heavily. It is quite a warm afternoon. It hasn't rained yet, maybe rain tonight. And because lions and other animals which have fur like this can't sweat, they have to pant heavily in order to get rid of the hot air that's in their, the heat that's building up in their bellies from all the digesting of the meat. So she's panting to try and keep herself cool, sitting in the shade. Well, there's not really going to be much shade, to be honest, but it is a bit cloudy, so she's just lying down on the nice, cool, wet earth, trying to keep as cool as possible. And you can see how well camouflaged she is. She's very pale, in the screen, but I can assure you that lying in the bush, when you're walking past, driving past, doing whatever, it will be very difficult to spot this lioness. Chevy, that's an interesting way to look at it. Chevy said that they love the introvert lifestyle is working out for this lioness. Once upon a time I would have considered myself an introvert, so I totally can associate with this lioness, and she's doing phenomenally. It's working out for her in a big way. So each to their own, hey? Different strokes for different folks. So this lion, her introvert lifestyle is working. I think she's gonna, she's already a beautiful lioness, a young lioness. She's got that scar on her head there, which, helps us to identify, but also shows that she's a fighter. She's not going to give up anything without a fight. So I think she'll be around for many years to come, hopefully, and maybe even attract the attentions of some of the males in the area, and raise some youngsters, and maybe we're going to see the beginnings of a whole new pride in this area. Imagine that. The brand new Pridelands Pride, led by Lagatha the lioness.
Look at this. We found a lovely sounder. Some warthogs busy grazing on some fresh shoots that have come out. Looks like they had their hair done. It's so wonderful to watch them. We're actually quite a distance away, which is why it's possible. So often they just run away as soon as we approach. But it wasn't because of them that we stopped initially. It was because of our very lovely giraffe bull, who has been staring at us for the last 5 minutes. Hello, you. You can see it's got quite a large bony protrusion, an extra bony protrusion on its head. Let's just, oh, there it went. It's always nice to see giraffes bring up their cud for chewing, because it has to travel such a long way up the neck. So that bony protrusion, just extra calcium deposits that form on the males, and they look like extra horns, but they don't grow in the same way as an ossicone does. It's just extra calcium that gets deposited on the head. But what that does, and why males have carried it on, or why it has been persistent, is that it adds weight to the head. And that's very useful when sparring or necking, any type of dominance display. It's very useful to have a heavy head, because that's their weapon. And having these extra deposits definitely add some weight to that. Looks like he's hiding. Hammond, that's a really interesting question. You'd like to know how many times the giraffe regurgitates in each feed. It will constantly have food in its rumen, ready to be regurgitated. And that's why you'll find with herbivores, ruminants, they're constantly eating, even herbivores that aren't, but they're constantly eating. They got little piglets. It's very sweet. So it will be regurgitating for as long as it feels comfortable. There's no period in which it stops. All that's continuously digesting. The food that's been chewed up will be swallowed and be digested, and the other food that needs to be chewed will be sent up, and at the same time there'll be other food that has not been digested or chewed at all that they'll be picking off the tree, which will go down. So it's continuously happening. So it's hard to say how many times it will do that, because it's continuously feeding. But they'll tend not to ruminate when they're walking, when they're moving too much, and when they're not feeling comfortable. Off they all go. So mostly they'd like to, with all herbivores, when they're ruminating, they'd prefer to be relaxed and sitting down or standing up, but as long as they're relaxed, because they don't want to be in a compromising position. All right, we're going to go check out the edges of the dam and see if there's any nice birds for us.
Now we found another herd of elephants, but on our approach to the herd of elephants, we found this rather enormous hive of African killer bees. They are not, of course, African killer bees, they're just bees. They're just honeybees. The notion of an African killer bee is very much a sensationalized one of the press. So this is just the African honeybee, Apis mellifera. And it has got a lovely, very secure hive in what is an old knobthorn tree. And it's got 2 entrances. And I've no doubt they're making some delicious honey inside, but I have absolutely no desire to go and take it out. But as I was watching this and thinking to myself, how on earth would you get the honey out of a hive like this? I was reminded of the amazing sequence on that Human Planet documentary where there's a pygmy man in the forests of Central Africa that climbs into a tree and doesn't seem to make much of an attempt not to be stung by the bees as he takes out the comb. So quite remarkable sequence. You see him climbing up the tree and then smoking the bees out and eventually getting the honey. Remarkable feat of bravery and stoicism. There are lots and lots of elephants around. The herd that we were following has got wind of us and moved off slowly. And we'll just walk around this termite mound here and see if we can see the rest that are coming along. You might just be able to see a grey shape through the bush there. And all I can hear is that animal is feeding. Unfortunately, this drainage line that we're walking along, this dry river, is precluding our walking around the elephants, but it's also keeping us safe because they're all the other side. And so what's happened is that they are definitely aware of a human presence on this side, but they don't seem to be in any state of panic, which is good because we're still a good distance from them. Right, I'll just quickly show you how I can tell which way the wind's blowing, just to reassure those that might think that I'm ill-prepared for this walk. Here you can see that I have an old sock with some ash in it. This is a very modern version of the ash bag. People used to have to use a buffalo. Well, you get the idea. Off you go to your next feed.
Well, from the walk and back to our resting cheetah. He hasn't done very much since last time that we shared him with you, apart from looking at the vehicle and cleaning himself, getting rid of all the evidence that he had eaten. I'm going with a he because of the size of the head. The head, tells me it's a he, but, I can be corrected later on. This is an animal that is threatened all over the world. They have, we have less than about maybe 3,000 left, in Africa. So they are very, very few. To see one is what I call a jackpot. This guy is resting after a meal, very much like dogs and cats lack sweat glands. All heat is lost through the mouth, and that's exactly what he is doing. Because he is very vulnerable, or they're very vulnerable, every couple of minutes they have to put their heads up to take a look and to make sure nobody is approaching. Other predators will actually get rid of them. They have no territories. Angie Jambo, thank you for your comment. You say it's a very cute face. Yes, indeed, it is very cute and handsome at the same time. These guys have got what we call a home range, and a home range can be up to around 300 square kilometers. And proof of that, some cheetahs have been seen here and then disappeared for many months, and then later on they are seen somewhere in the Serengeti, which is a very long way. It is important for them to have this kind of, territory, so that inbreeding is reduced, which is the biggest threat facing them at the moment. Is that with the loss of habitat, it has become evident that sons from them are mating with their mothers, and daughters are meeting with their fathers, so weakening the gene, and when a disease hit them, it really killed them. A few years back, I saw that when they were really affected by mange, and many of them, died. They lost a lot of hair on their heads, and so the sun really gave them trouble. Most of them died of dehydration and pain. But that was treated and they're back to normal. The numbers are increasing, not at the pace that I would like, but conservationists are fighting to help this animal make a comeback. That is the side profile of a cheetah. A very small mouth, unlike the leopard and the lion, and that's why they go only for small prey, like Thompson's gazelle and impala. This is an animal built for speed. I wish it would get up, or it will get up, so we can share this body profile with you. A very long tail, you've been seeing it. Very helpful for swatting flies, at the same time helping in counterbalancing when they're chasing prey. Remember to talk to us, #WildEarth, #WildEarth. Questions and comments are very welcome. Their favorite prey actually is Thompson's gazelle, and they're very plentiful here in the Mara. If that is not present, they go for Grant's gazelle, impala, young waterbacks, bushbacks. Yeah, all those they can go for. Dick. They have been known also, if they are in a collision, or mother with a few cubs can go for young wildebeest. He will be getting up, but I don't know when. I'm hoping that it can get up so we can see all the side profile. Yes, I'm going to stay here for a little bit longer. Hopefully he'll get active and we can share him again with you. But while I stay here, let's see what's happening in another location.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Anbion. It's a very exciting day because we've got some sunshine, and this bird of prey is out and enjoying the sun as much as it can. And so this one is a Wahlberg eagle, but my name is Eric, and behind camera is Owen, and we've actually got the Timavati River directly behind us. We quickly came to have a look because there was a female leopard with 2 cubs that was seen this morning. We went and we had a very close look around where they had a bushbuck carcass, but it seems like the bushbuck carcass was fallen on the ground and probably stolen by hyenas, which means that the leopards have moved off. And we sat and waited for at least 25 minutes or so with no sign of them. And so we thought it's probably better for us to move on and try a slightly different area. So we might be moving towards an area where we were yesterday. And if we're very extremely lucky, we might be able to catch up with those wild dogs we had so nicely last night. And very exciting times. I was mentioning how it's just such a beautiful time of year, and one of the things that I really enjoy is, I think there was something that took off from the tree to the right of the vehicle and a big branch fell down. But anyways, the migratory birds that are starting to come back, and I'm sure this is a bird that we've been seeing quite regularly on Wild Earth in the last couple of weeks. The Wahlberg's eagle have finally arrived. And we're in quite a cool spot because we've got one clear sign of summer on our left-hand side. And if Owen wouldn't mind panning off to the right-hand side, we've got another beautiful specimen of summer, which is this Scotia, or the weeping boerbean. And it's in flower at the moment. And this is probably within, the last couple of years of my guiding career, it's probably the best season for these Scotias. And they're just so beautiful because the contrasting greens and the reds stand out from a mile away. And I've never noticed how many Scotias we've seen. And so we're going to leave this beautiful tree and bird, and hopefully we'll be able to find you some wild dogs this afternoon.
It couldn't get better as an afternoon game drive could go. Excuse me. We've got a slight bit of cloud cover, which makes things a lot more comfortable for us and for these little new additions. They've just had a little feed of milk, and it seems like they're just starting to settle down. Typical of young animals, they feed, sleep, and play. That would be the POA for these little guys for the next couple of weeks. We can give a ballpark figure about 6 weeks is the age of these little ones, and it's been confirmed that there's only 3, but that is perfect. It's normal litter size for a female, and she would have been pregnant for anywhere between 100 and 120 days. And at birth, these little cubs would have been about 1.5 kilograms. So around about the same weight that I had the other day with the ostrich egg. Tiny. But moving around, it's about this mark, and you can see very vigilant on our presence. And it's nice that mom is relaxed because young cubs normally adopt the mother or the parent's behavior. And when we came in here, mom didn't even move a muscle. She's very relaxed with cars or with game vehicles. And these little cubs will actually learn the behavior of mom. So if mom is relaxed, so will these little ones.
Jake, 3 new pop stars.
3 new pop stars. Sorry, I had a bit of difficulty hearing there. 3 new pop stars, yes, definitely. When there's new additions like this, it's always a privilege to see them. And how nice of this female to let us do so. And then also just their behavior is super curious, inquisitive. It's just really, really nice to be with young cubs like us because they're very playful after their little snoozes and very entertaining. So we could sit here for hours watching these new little pop stars. Amazing. I can't believe we are sitting here with these little cubs. So still utilizing milk that's been provided by mom. Darty, is this her first litter of cubs? This female, no. This is not her first litter. She's had multiple litters. She's well into her years. She's one of the older females within this pride. She's over 10 years of age. And she's very experienced when it comes to looking after and ensuring the safety of these little ones because they are at a very vulnerable period until they get adopted into the pride. They're still in a bit of a tricky stage when they get adopted into the pride. That's why the female hides these little ones for the first couple of weeks, is to ensure their safety, because older cubs, if they are in the pride, things can get a little bit rough, with older ones. But this is not her first litter. So experience would be an upper hand to ensure these little ones reach maturity at a strong, steady pace. And she's used this den site before. When I first got to Tswalu 2017, I actually remember coming down here. It's a very prominent low-laying camel thorn, and it's perfect to stash little cubs away. So she'll remain here for a couple of hours. She has got a big belly. You can see in picture now, you can see how her belly's raised on the left-hand side. In the middle, it's raised. So she has fed recently. So she'll remain here for another day or so. And then when she's running low on reserves, she will then go off and hunt and then return back to these ones in a later stage, just to groom and then feed them again.
We were trying to avoid yet another herd of elephants when we came up onto this termite mound in order to see where they were, and BK spotted this blister beetle. Now, I don't know how many of you have had the experience of a blister beetle before in your lives. They are visually very appealing, but they are sensually, in other words, tactilely very unappealing. They exude a nasty toxin which contains cantharidin. Well, some of them do, and don't all have cantharidin, but some of them. And that blisters the skin. It creates this awful itching sensation, which then blisters, and you find bits of your skin coming off in sort of oozing flakes, if you like, sheets. Somewhere between flakes and sheets. Anyway, this particular chap is harmlessly sitting on the end of a grass stalk, so we shall leave him be. But they're quite attractive colours, and those attractive colours, as many of you will know as well, are forewarning. Aposematic coloration. You might be able to hear that squealing noise. I don't know if you can hear it. There's a troop of baboons having a Sunday afternoon set to, which reminds me of a rather nasty story that, again, BK witnessed this morning. And unfortunately, it involves a squirrel and a monkey. And it was nothing short of a murder, where the monkey literally caught a squirrel, tore it to pieces, and left it alone. It really did drive my estimation of monkeys down slightly. Now, I can see the elephant. BK, do you want to come up here? Do you think you'll be able to? Or do you think you'll fall down? Do you want to give me your hand? I mean, you're a heavy chap. I hope you don't pull me off. Keepers. So the elephant, it's now moved again. It's down through there. I can see 2 elephants at the moment, but I'm not sure that BK is going to be able to get into a position to see them. Can you see any? Just slowly kind of wandering, floating through this grey vegetation. Anyway, we'll sit here for a little bit longer and see if we can see them, and then we'll press on. Maybe we'll find those baboons.
Now from the elephants here, we come across the small bulls accompanying themselves with a very big bull. Now these bulls, we always see them in a bachelor hut. These are 5 bulls that I've always seen them around here in the Mara. Seems like they're drinking, enjoying the drink there. They've come from a long distance of grazing. I see them drinking there. The water is so nice and cool, coming from the hills over there. They're so clever. They come to the uplands where the water is not polluted or maybe dirty, because it goes through a filtration process going through the sand. So the water is much clear, as you can see when the elephant is putting on some water in his trunk. See, the third elephant there is drinking also. Now, juvenile bulls will Thank you for your question. The elephant favorite food here is actually mixed up. They come from grazing to browsing on leaves and twigs. So depending on the availability of food and where they'll be walking, so food keeps on changing. We find that there are places where it's short of grass, so they tend to eat on leaves and branches and twigs. And then when they walk to the marshes, so generally their favorite food here is mixed up grasses and also leaves from the branches on trees. So they have a variety of trees here, so they enjoy having that as well. When an elephant is thirsty, at one go they can drink up to 170 liters of water. But because there's so much water here, so the water is not scarce, so we have the savanna elephant here, we have the forest elephant, and we have the Asian elephant. Of course, there's different in sizes. So both the bush elephant and savanna elephants all possess tusks. The Asian elephant, the females don't have tusks. So I would say it's about 3 that we have. But in Africa, we have only 2. See how they're flapping their ears to cool off? Well, the one is actually mud bathing, throwing mud on its body. The one in the middle there, actually throwing some mud on his belly, while this other one is still enjoying the water. So the 5th one is yet to join this herd. So elephants are definitely not territorial. They cover home ranges. So when juvenile graduate into adulthood, they'll walk out of their respective herds and they walk to join older bulls unknown to them. So they'll associate themselves with them, accompany them wherever they go. And these bulls, like this one walking close to us, seems like he's a little bit bigger than the rest. Seems like he's the one that has been training these younger bulls to be well adapted to life. And you don't know how far they've gone to. Sometimes they cross into farmlands, sometimes they go into conservation area. So their life really is so much dependent on the big bulls. See, it's super green there, and they're enjoying the grass there. So lush because there's lots of water here, so making the grass more greener, softer, and even sweet. See how he's going to pluck the grass there and then dust it off a little bit as they carry on. So when they move and walk along these home ranges, they come across elephant herds, and sometimes the elephants who come into estrus, and they get an opportunity to mate with them. But not often that we always see the large bulls associating themselves with the herds. So because of the bond, and because elephants, don't forget, sometimes they return back to their maternal herds, and once in a while they will mingle and interact, and then they walk off to their respective bachelor herds. So in the elephant association in the herds, the females never leave their natal groups. They'll hang around together until they get older and carry on and give birth to lots, depending on how well the environment they live is, and the population gets to increase. And sometimes you find that the herds split up. An interesting thing is when the herds split up, the blood relatives will choose to hang around with themselves. So related brother and sister will hang around one group, as the cousins will split up to walk to their respective mothers and blood relatives as they carry on to their respective herds, which is super interesting to learn about elephants association and elephant behavior. So these bulls walk long distance. So one day you might see them here, the second day you see them about 40 or 30 kilometers away. So making them nomads. You find them walking from territory to territory. So as you sit here waiting for the fifth elephant bull to come, we're going to send you over to another safari vehicle.
So we've also got a bull over here at Pride Lands. We're just coming through a little drainage line on the western end of Leopard Dam, and we gave this young bull a little bit of a fright, and he sort of stood tall a bit, and he started, he flapped his ears a bit, but he's calming down now, as you can see. His eyes are soft, and he's just feeding on some sticks. Oh, that's the stick that he's feeding on. He's just showing us. It's a very good-looking stick. I'm not going to lie, if I was an elephant, that's exactly the stick I would have chosen. And it actually looks like they've pushed over a tree over here, just maybe a little bit before. Hey there, big guy. As you can see, we're a little bit lower than him, so he's sort of standing tall above us, just investigating what's this all about. Oh, bless you. He is a young bull, so they often do show off their skill. No, don't touch. No touching. So it looks like they just pushed over a knob thorn a bit earlier. So I know my head was in the way there a bit. I just have to, whenever you're with elephants, you kind of have to put safety first. And I don't want to start the car and move around because we are quite close to them. We did surprise them a bit. So we're just going to sit here quietly. I mean, as you can see, this elephant can hear us with those big ears. And of course, at this distance, very good eyesight. They can see us quite clearly. And of course, smell us too. There's a bit of a breeze in the air blowing from us to him. So just going to sit here nice and quietly, and you can hear the calm sound of my voice, and it sort of gives them an indication that we don't mean any harm. I think there's a whole bunch of bulls here, as you might be able to hear a few branches cracking in the distance. So they're pushed over. You can see on his nose there, on the trunk, just between the tusks, you can see a bit of what looks like maybe the bark or bits of whatever from when he pushed over this tree. It looks like it was a knob thorn, which is quite interesting because knob thorns have this very sharp, knobbly defense against elephants pushing them over. But this one obviously did manage to get past that defense. And they pushed over the tree. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, just feeding on that knob thorn. There's another elephant busy eating the smaller branches. So interesting. It's very dry still. We've had a lot of rain, so it's actually wet, but it's not green yet. There is a bit of a green flush happening. Lots of the grasses are starting to come. Oh, there's actually a bit of green right in the middle of the screen there on the branch. I don't know if it'll be easy to focus on it. It's very messy and branchy, but there's a little bit of green right there. Can you see that? That is what the elephants are after. I think that was a question from Warren, and I think he was asking, sorry, that we're in a bit of a dip, so the comms are not great, but I think he was asking how can an elephant eat if it doesn't have a trunk? That is something that would be quite awkward, I think, for an elephant, because, of course, they use the trunk in many different ways. But if, let's say, an elephant did lose its trunk, like right by the tusks there, it would still be able to eat, I mean, it would just have to feed on stuff that was low enough to put directly in its mouth. It would just not be able to use its trunk to pull things and lift things. It would have to feed directly at mouth level, so to speak. I've never seen an elephant with a trunk that short, but I've seen many elephants before with pieces missing from their trunks. And they seem to do just fine. They just adapt their behavior to survive in that situation. You see it in many animals, including humans. When a person is born without or loses a limb when they're quite young, they're able to, change their behavior in order or use different methods in order to get the same jobs accomplished. Maybe not with the same amount of ease as another elephant, which had a full trunk, but certainly in a way. I mean, you've seen Limpy. You've all seen Limpy, the elephant bull, who's got his back, I think it's a back right leg, is much shorter than his left, and he's able to keep up with the elephants absolutely fine. He's feeding and he's doing all of the things, just as an elephant does. There's the other young bull that was feeding on the knob thorn that was pushed over. It's just heading off now. You see, that young bull did obviously decide that whatever we weren't causing him any trouble, and we were just sitting relatively quietly, and now he's moving off. So nice to spend time with these animals, and you have to respect them because they are very... Is that a bull? That actually might be a cow. No, I think it's a young bull. It's very difficult to tell. But certainly you have to respect these animals, as even when it's a young bull, can still cause a lot of concern if you don't treat them with respect and, sit quietly and allow them to move past you without blocking them. Spectacular to watch them walking off into the bush after a close encounter.
Okay, the elephants are moving off now. We just kind of happened upon yet another herd. So what I'm going to suggest we do is walk down here. We're going to go towards another termite mound because we don't want to get any closer, but we need a bit of elevation if we're going to get a decent view. So rather than get closer to them, we're just going to climb up a mound. The wind is very swirly today, which makes life a little tricky. But the bush is relatively open because at this time of the year it's at its most open, although it's going to thicken up quite a lot after this last rain. It does mean that you can see them at quite a distance. March up this hill. Easy for me, extremely difficult for BK. Sorry to you, BK. Sorry for you. There we go. He's young and strong, you see. And there they go. Into the invisible bush. You see them there? They'll emerge shortly. What a great view. I can see about a square centimetre of elephant skin. Oh, there we go, 3 centimetres. So although there are no leaves on the trees, the bush is still pretty thick, because 4 elephants just disappeared behind the bush there. Ah well, we still got quite a nice view. I am extremely comfortable now. You still see them, BK?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. They've disappeared. All right, well, from this position, I'll tell you what we will show you, other than the elephants. If we look over towards the northwest there, what you can see is the clearings outside camp, which are most unromantically named quarantine clearings. But until 3 or 4 days ago, they were grey-brown. They are now very bright green. Indeed, they look like a golf course.
Yes, we left the cheetah because he was spending too much time sleeping, and came to see this beautiful topi. The little guy to the left there is a very young one, a few days old. I would give him about 5. When born, they have this tawny color, and then in a few months, about 2, they start getting blotches. Many birds are seen from the months of September to December. Many of them occurring in October, and this is evident. Something is really, really disturbing his nose. It's better to lie down and put the face down to get rid of the insects. Now, he's quite new to this world, So the insects must be very, very, very annoying. This is the toppy, and now we're going to show you some adults. These are adults, and over here is a big breeding herd. I can still say that we have very many that are still carrying the young ones, and they will be dropping them quite soon. This animal is found parts of Serengeti, the Masai Mara. The best place to see it is in Uganda. There you see them in their hundreds, and those dark markings are natural. Nobody actually painted them. Sometimes say they're wearing jeans. Yeah, that one at the back looks like she's gonna pop any day soon, maybe in a day or two. You can tell she's really, really, really pregnant. This is an animal that migrates, and their numbers range to around 10 to 20,000 during migration. And this group here looks like it's mainly females. Clay Jumbo, you want to know if it is possible for toppies to die of old age? Of course, yes. They do, die. There's no evidence of toppy, but I have seen animals that have died of old age. So I don't see why any animal cannot die of old age. It can be lucky to be able to age in a place where there is few predators. Of course, there is places in Africa where there's very few predators, and they might, be able to survive to the old age of about 12 to 15. So it is very possible. Over here, they seems to be getting restless, and most of them are getting up, and I think it's because the sun has been covered by a nice cloud, and it's cool now, and it's a nice temperature to just wake up and enjoy this, beautiful, nutritious grass. It's nice head. That one is gonna go and drink. Yeah, mommy, I want to drink. Yeah. Yeah, stimulating that teat so it can, bring out as much milk in the shortest time possible. This is the highly nutritious fast milk that most young ones need, because it's full of vitamins that are necessary, to create a healthy, body immune system. Mommy doesn't want that anymore. Maybe it was too hard on her. Is that another one drinking? Yes. Looks like the young ones are very lucky, have decided to drink because their moms have been lying down, and now it's time to have a drink. Yeah, these are lots and lots of young ones. Here I don't see any males, but they are very prevalent every now and then. He's listening to me, this little cute little guy. And when you see males, usually they're in big herds. And during lacking, which is the breeding time, you find them forming... Oh, that's too hard. Yeah, it's really to stimulate that teat so that it brings out some milk in the shortest time possible. Must be really, really delicious, tasty for them to be. You can see that one has got an umbilical cord, so it's only about 3 days old. You can see in between the legs. It's a few days old, I would say maybe 4 days old. Very, very young. These animals are usually on their legs as soon as they are dropped, because the sooner you are on your legs, the higher the success rate of surviving. So you need to be on your feet as soon as possible. And within half an hour to an hour, they're able to catch up with their moms and actually outrun most predators. At the moment, they are quite safe because their mothers are here. They would detect danger and lead them away, but they also can catch up in case of that ambush that is not picked by the adults. Looks that is a male there, I would say, putting his head up, typical of a ratting male. I don't know why he's doing that. He's a young male. Well, we're going to stick here for a little bit longer. Let's find out, what's happening somewhere else.
It's amazing how young animals have just this internal instinct on knowing what to do. It's amazing. Being a young calf in a fairly competitive and very, very turmoil environment, you know that you need to be quick on your toes. Same as these ones. If Mom had to leave here right now, these little cubs would not move a muscle. They would go into the thicker part of this undergrowth and they will not move. Just the natural instincts of animals is just something that fascinates me. Truly remarkable. She won't even need to say anything. They just know that I need to stay here. So they've taken a little bit of a snooze. So as you can see from the activity, a little bit of stalking going on. So being multiple siblings or multiple cubs within a litter, it's very, very important that these ones have a partner or have a sibling to play with. Play is very important for these little ones. It ensures they're going through the proper life skills that they need in order to be successful lions one day. It's very hard to be a lion. You've got to fight your way through. So if you want to survive, you've got to be tough and strong. Oh, it looks like they're giving Mommy love. Oh, little kitty cuddles. Ooh, biting the ball. Emily, how much lion milk will a lion cub typically have a day? I would say maybe on average 500 mils to maybe about a liter. That's a very good question. Second question, again, today, nice. Emily, thank you for that question. That's an intriguing one. Same as Luke. Luke asked a question this morning. Oh, no, it was Liam, sorry. I hope Liam's watching. Hello, Liam. Asked me a question this morning about that pearl-spotted owlet's lifespan. So I was in the right ballpark, 5 to 10 years. It's between 5 and 7, but 5 to 10 is a rough estimate. But for these little cubs, on amount of milk they drink per day, I would say under a liter a day. I mean, they can really have big, big bellies. When a lion cub goes at it, I mean, their bellies can be distended. At this point, they are still drinking milk. They'll be weaned at about 6 to 9 months. Oh, and look at Mom, just there to provide all the time. If these little cubs weren't here, we could just look at those nipples and we could know that she has got cubs somewhere. From the dark staining around the nipple itself, and then also how prominent the nipples are on her tummy. And then also she'll have like this, a bit of weight. It looks like a little bit of extra fat. That's actually where the mammary glands are holding the milk. So it's very easy to tell if a lioness has got cubs stashed away somewhere. Oh my word. Incredible. And believe it or not, even at this age, they can be quite aggressive with one another. Snarling, pawing. I've seen little cubs make noises that makes me a little scared. You think they're tiny, cute and cuddly. They will show you otherwise. So Emily, if when I do get onto a more solid base with that on how much milk a lion cub would drink per day, I will be sure to let you know. But that ballpark figure and tummy feels good about that. So Mom will remain hidden with these little ones. And then when she feels that they have got the ability to start moving around, she will then introduce them to the pride. And that's when she feels that they're strong enough and they're capable enough to keep up and, hold their own, so to say. But a really amazing sight that we have here right now.
Now, I don't know what fate befell this poor little longhorn beetle. Well, I mean, I do. That's a really stupid thing to say. It's hanging dead in a spider's web. Of course I know what happened to it. But I don't know when it was killed, and I don't know what kind of spider killed it, because I'd have thought that most spiders would not be out just yet, but this web is definitely a fairly recent one. Where its owner is, I'm not sure. But I'm going to say that I think it's probably a bark spider, a small example that is on either side of the support thread here in one of these two trees. Anyway, what the spider has done for us is it's not dead. It's still alive. Now, this really does tear at the heartstrings, because I overwhelmingly want to free the thing, except half its guts have come out of its backside, and I don't know. It's all just rather sad. Anyway, what we can see, if you look carefully, is obviously the long horns, so the antenna that identifies it as a longhorn beetle. You can see it is a beetle from the fact that it has got two sets of wings, and the first set, the elytra, are not actually used for flying. They're used as a protective covering. There, you can see it's covered the wings, and they're like armor. So it opens those out and then uses the rear wings to fly with. In this case, not so much anymore. And so that's how you know that it's a beetle. And sometimes on other beetles, you'll find that the elytra are fused, and they can't fly, on something like some of the ground beetles, the tenebrionic beetles. I think this thing's actually laid an egg, and that's not its guts. Let's just watch for a second. I find this very difficult. I don't know about you, but I suspect it exhausted itself. And is about to do so again. Come on, that's it. Sit up. Sit up. No. It really has got itself into a rather nasty position. It'll make a meal, though, won't it, for the spider if the spider comes back? Be a hell of a waste if the spider doesn't come back. See if I can see a spider anywhere that might come back. Dreadful. Imagine lying there, stuck in the web like this, thinking to yourself, well, sooner or later, some beastly little arachnid's going to come climbing along the support strand here, sink its fangs into me, and slowly my insides are going to be digested, and then it'll drink them out like some sort of visceral milkshake. Many of you begging me to save it. You see, I know a lot of you are begging me to save it, but there are an equal number of you that are sitting there saying, if you save that thing, I will attack you on Twitter. I will rain fire and brimstone down upon thine head if you if you release this beetle. I can't watch it anymore, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to. There. Oh. Be brave. I hope that's your egg and not your butt. It's too late now. He looks much happier now. Or she. Sorry, Spider. I apologise. I couldn't do it. It's now gone off onto to my shorts. Many of you saying yay. Well, I'm glad you are. The spider's not, and nor is the spider club of the universe, if there is such a thing. Okay, let's put him back on the tree, and then we'll carry on. There you are. Good luck. Stay away from that thing, because really I don't think it's a good idea for you to be near it. And I hope that's not your intestines, but an egg.
Sometimes it's nice when you see spiders. Out here we sometimes see very funny looking spider webs from the funnel of spider. And of course it will be interesting to find one here in the Mara. But here we have an elephant herd, so we have two separate herds. Now to our left we have a big herd as compared to the very first herd that we just seen. Now these herds will mix up when they are walking through these home ranges. Sometimes their home ranges overlap when they're walking over to find good pasture ground. And of course where they're coming from, it's a big swamp, so they'll mix up there, graze and drink water, and then in the evening, as right about now, they're slowly heading back to the raised area on the mountain. See, most of them have mud plastered on their bodies. This is super cool to see. Now, it's very important to note that when elephants have come across a water patch or muddy area, they will sprinkle water on their bodies to cool off. But one more important thing is that they need to mud wallow, because the wallowing in the mud will make them 8 times more cooler than spraying water on their bodies. Because elephants lose a lot of water through their bodies. A young one, like that teeny calf that you see, can lose up to about 2.5 liters of water through their body excretion. That is a way of cooling themselves. And adults can lose up to about 2 or 3 times. But when they come to a watering place, they will spray the water on their body. And as you see, most of them have mud on their backs. So plaster their body with mud, which makes them more cooler and can keep them for longer. Wow, that young one is really struggling to use his trunk. See, because he's not yet fully adopted to how to use his trunk, they sometimes kneel and pluck or grasp grass with their teeth. By the time that calf is about 2.5 or 3, he'll have already learned how to use the trunk. A little scratch on the ear there. You can see he already doesn't have the tusks. The one just in front of him is about, I would say, 2 or 2.5 years, because the tusks are developing when they're about 2 years old. You can also see that calf is actually the size of the mother's belly. So at that age, we call them the underwalkers. From the age of 1 below, they walk under their mother's belly. So we call them the underwalkers. So these matriarchs play a very important role raising this entire family. So it comes with about related sisters, cousins, and of course makes it become an extended family, making only the bulls leave the natal herds, and the females will always stay and stick around with their mothers forever. See how that elephant is flapping there, the one to the right. Interesting. By trapping cool air between their bodies and the ear, they are able to cool their blood within the vessels in behind their ears, and which of course is helping the elephant to cool off. These young ones learned from watching the adults how they eat, how they drink, And through this entire time, they will learn that by, of course, the course of time when they walk back and forth to the grazing grounds, water, and all that. So as you watch these elephants slowly grazing, let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
Well, yeah, from the elephants to lion, and I have come across this beautiful, very big and well matured male lion, full of flies, because the flies can actually pick up the smell and feed on the blood that is on their hairs. He's quite a big guy, looks like he hasn't been very well, and I think this looks like Blondie, and he has walked quite a long way from last where he was seen. I saw him yesterday morning and he was quite a long way, and again today he's very far where he is, and I think he's doing his last bit of life. I don't know how old he is, but I would guess he's about 10. He's very displaced, depending, looking at where he is at the moment. He's quite a long way. I don't know why he's doing what he's doing here. Looks like he ate something, and that's why the flies are here. Lions don't have a very good life towards the end because they are attacked by younger males for territorial purposes. Usually, if they don't have a coalition male or males, they end up, wandering by themselves and living a very bad life. Sometimes starving to death because they cannot hunt. They're too slow. They end up scavenging, following hyenas and feeding on hyena carcasses or whatever they have killed. Sometimes get attacked by those hyenas and, get killed. And this guy looks like, he is in a very bad shape if he's going to stick around by himself. I have seen one that starved to death, and it is true, they could starve to death. Over here, once you lose your strength, it means you're doomed. He still looks very, very, very healthy, but I don't know for how much longer once the wildebeest and zebra are gone. He is fast asleep, as you can see, and that is what best they are known for. They sleep for a very long time during the day. In the last few months, there have been, very strange dynamics of lions going on in the Mara Triangle. And since I came about 2 months ago, I have seen very many lions in and out of this area. Yeah, look at that paw. That's so cute. I think the flies and the insects are disturbing him. They get too much on that face and he has to shoo them off. Well, I'm gonna stay here a little bit longer. Let's see what one of our other guides has for you.
Here we have got my very first dung beetle of the season. And it is a fairly subdued dung beetle. I don't know why it's quite so subdued, but it's good for filming. And this particular dung beetle, as far as I'm aware, is flightless. And if you look carefully on its back, you can see a line down its back there where the elytra, that, like I pointed out on the longhorn beetle, have fused. So they're fused together. There's a leopard calling. That's exciting. Quite far away, but there's a leopard calling just down over there. We'll see if we can find it after we've finished with our dung beetling. Anyway, the elytra are fused, forming this really nice hard carapace on the back, which means that the dung beetle is protected from predators. It wasn't, in fact, on any dung But all around us, apart from the leopard that's calling, there are elephants calling. And it sounds a little bit like you're surrounded by helicopters, because from all directions you hear. There he is. Isn't he a good-looking fellow? Now we must just try and get hold of Trishala and tell her to go and have a look around where that leopard was calling. Doesn't sound like it's too far from the dam near camp. Good. All right, well, you, Mr. Beatley, can go back over there, and we'll go and see if we can find ourselves a leopard. That would be fun.
All right, back to feeding and playing. Just to get back to Emily's question, Emily, I'm just sitting here trying to think about it. I'm just going to think practically. At this stage of their lives, a couple of 100 mils per day, and as they get older, that will progress. It's when it comes to age, isn't that, we try and put so much into our hard drive that every now and then we get stumped and you're like, oh, okay. So a couple of 100 mils at this stage, and increasing as they get older. These little ones are solely dependent on milk for right now. It's all that they would be utilizing for this given period. The eyes still have like a bit of a bluish tinge to them. And really special to sit here in the pristine and very quiet landscape of Tswalu and to be able to enjoy this sighting with you guys. So when she feels ready with these little ones, she will introduce them to the pride. And an amazing thing about lions is that they actually come into estrus roughly at the same time. So that if you do have other cubs within the pride, multiple females can suckle all the cubs. That's what they refer to as allo-suckling. And that's a very efficient system where you have a creche system. So if you want to go off and hunt and do your thing, one of your sisters or one of your nieces then can look after the cubs within the pride. And this period of suckling would last between 6 and 9 months, where they'll be utilizing milk. And then they'll be slowly introduced into meat. And then it's everybody for themselves. Even at this stage, it's still every cub for themselves. Lions have a very tough life. Going onto a carcass, and if things are tough in the environment, mom would actually eat before the cubs. The cubs would have to work their way in there, and hopefully, in the mix of things, they get a piece here and there. It's a tough system to be in. And it's amazing how they survive to adulthood, and you can see why they are like they are. Mom, wake up. But really special. And she has just got every ounce of patience with these little ones. Oh, yes, thank you, Mom. That's what we want. Because then we can see all the action. So from this little bundle of fur, 3 months, at about a 3-month age, they'll start moving off with the pride. And actually assisting or watching on hunts. Lions have to learn everything by observation. They're not taught. Unlike leopards and cheetah, and the parental care and the technique to develop your hunting skills is honed in and stimulated by the female. With lions, everything is via observation. So having multiple cubs like this here, they are really honing these skills. Look at those little claws coming out on Mom's tummy there. Glenn, can you just get in a little bit on that lion's paws? Look at those little claws. One day those will be very efficient tools to hold down and lock onto prey. Now it's just all about the technique and how to actually use these little claws. Look how she's moving up and down. But you'll see that one busy feeding now, like I said with those cheetah cubs. Maag is full, oog is toe. Stomach full, eyes closed. That's typical behavior of young. Might have a little bit of aggression here. I am not moving. We're still trying to gather information about their sex, trying to see if they're male or female. It's a little bit tricky, but I'm sure we'll succeed today. It's always interesting to understand the ratio of male and female within births, and that would vary depending on where you are as well. Watch the one on mom, watching its sibling's tail. He just wants to play. I don't know if you guys can hear the noise that they're making. Just a little bit of moaning. Amazing. Really, really, really amazing. So in picture there you can see the one cub's hind leg. You can see spots are starting to develop. Yeah, so there's just a little bit of like a soft growling going on between the cubs. And that's just a bit of vocal aggression between each other, just to kind of displace a sibling. Because from this age they need to find their place and they need to hold on to that. Can't be pushed around. So they fed about 15 minutes ago and they're feeding again. And now the activity will slow down. They'll more than likely fall asleep. I've found lions countless times where they've fallen asleep while feeding. You can see the eyes start to get drowsy and start to close, and eventually they fall asleep. And they fall asleep a large majority of the time with the nipple in the mouth. Any little disturbance, the eyes open up in this drowsy state, and then back to sleep they go. It's like a kid with a dummy in its mouth. But mom is getting hot. We've got a nice cool breeze coming in from the southwestern corner, and obviously being in that shade provided from that bosque here, it's a really nice, comfortable spot for her to do what she needs to do right now. And she looks asleep, but I promise you, if I had to put one foot onto the ground, she would be up like lightning. Very protective over this point with these little ones.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to and Beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. My name is Grant, and behind the camera is Craig. And this afternoon we've come out in search of, with not really much of a plan, but in search of anything that we could find. And it's been quite quiet so far, but it's really been pretty, and we've been able to appreciate some of the animals that we see less often. So we've come across this beautiful herd of impalas, and there are also some zebras around. There was a zebra with a young foal that was quite close to the vehicle, but they've moved off now. And so we thought we'd just take a moment to just enjoy these impalas and say good afternoon to all of you, and just have a look at what the impalas are up to. There's some grooming going on. We have had quite a lot of rain recently. The last few days we've been pretty rained out. You might have noticed that we haven't been that active on the on the Wild Earth shows, and that's because of the rain. So all the animals are pretty happy and excited at the moment. Lots of them are all fluffed up, enjoying the little bit of afternoon sun that we've gotten. Today is the first day that we've seen the sun for about 3 days, so yeah, they're all pretty happy and excited about that. they've been looking quite sorry for themselves with the. But yeah, everyone is out and about at the moment. So you might see those clouds in the background. It could rain again this afternoon, but Craig and I are going to continue on our journey this afternoon and see what else we can find to show you all.
Well, looks like Blondie is not relenting from sleeping, and I cannot blame him because I think he's had a good meal, and very much like us after eating a good meal, you know how you feel, and he deserves it. You can see how that tummy is really full. That whatever is in there is what is forcing him to breathe faster. He has buried his face slightly in that grass because of the flies, but he looks in very good shape at the tone of his color and the texture of the skin from a distance. It looks like he's very okay. At the back, he looks a bit bony, and I think that was caused by him lacking a meal or some meals or skipping some meals. Not forced, but because they were not available. You can tell that the skin is not even, so he was a bit bony. Yeah, you can tell that. And over there, you can tell the pelvis is quite evident that he hadn't eaten for a while. Usually it's nice and rounded, very symmetrical, and right now it's broken. So I think he's making a comeback. They have amazing resilience, and they can, make a comeback and look really, really good within a very short time. The hairs on his knees, means that he's fully grown, mature. It's a good sign that he's come of age. We tend to see that from the age of about 7 onwards. Yeah, nothing sleeps better on these plains like lions. Rosaline Jumbo, you want to know how heavy is a lion mane? Well, I have seen one, I have touched one, I have worn one, because I lived with Maasai for a very long time when I worked here in my earlier days, and the warriors were wearing one. It looks like a crown, and it's not that heavy. It's about 2 kilos when it's fully fixed to be worn. You might think it's gross, but Maasai warriors in the old times used to kill lion as a sign of coming of old age. Those traditions are no longer seen, although they're still carried out somewhere else. And that's how I got a chance to wear one. So it's not very heavy, but it's got a smell that never goes away. A smell that even dogs fear. When you have that skin in your house, even dogs fear it. Cats don't like it. Yes, and that's how I got to experience and touch it and feel the texture and actually wear it. So it's not that heavy when it's dry. When it's wet, I would assume it's very heavy. Maybe when you have a fresh skin, it could be very, very heavy. Yes, and this one here looks like it's very, very beautiful, and it could be very, very heavy. Yeah, those crests, those hats made of lion manes are actually very long, and they're actually very beautiful. And warriors wear them to show signs of how brave they are, and killing of a lion is a sign of coming of age. Usually they don't do it by themselves. they gang up to around 20 warriors, where they go find out a lion. They surround it with the bells tied onto their ankles and spears. They really confuse it, and when it really gets angry, that's when they spear it. That's how they used to do it. It was a tradition, but it has died off. It's not evident very much. Yes. Yes, many of you have been asking about Jasiri. Jasiri is doing well. He's at the mass, and the last information was about 4 days ago, and he was alone, and he's been hanging out at the mass, hiding, and every time there's a herd that passes by, he's been joining them, and they've been actually adopting him for a few hours and days, and then they move on, but he's doing much, much better. Yeah, we might be able to share some information in the next coming days, but we have to talk to the authorities for a go-ahead to do that. But he is very okay. Yes, my lion is still very fast asleep. I wish I could eat a meal and sleep like this. As I take you somewhere else, I'll leave you to appreciate the kind of silence that I'm experiencing where I am.
I have no idea what it is we're looking at over here, but watch this. Unbelievable. You see? If you're anywhere near it, it does this epileptic flip about. Did you get it? And it must be an amazingly effective anti-predator device. I'll do it once more for you and then we'll leave him be. He's here. There. He's managed to find himself some space to go into the ground. We'll leave him covered up there. How cool is that? Anyway, we just thought we'd show you that. We haven't got very far towards where we heard the leopard calling, and it hasn't called again, but we've sent TRISHALA down there. And I must just say that, firstly, we're unable to move from here because you'll lose picture. And secondly, thank you, James Richard, for pointing out that my beard has got quite a lot of white in it these days. I appreciate that. I hadn't noticed myself. Thought I was looking quite young. Apparently I'm not. I have to leave.
So we've just managed to find some wild dogs again. They are running, and so it's going to be very tricky to follow them, but they're moving through this area.
We have come across a very interesting looking bird, the greyback shrike. These birds are very, very interesting. You always encounter them out in the open and sometime in the bushland. So this bird has a specially adapted way of catching prey and also storing them. So they have a nickname of the butcher bird. So they will catch insects, lizard, small snakes, grasshoppers, and impale them on thorns. So you find sometime where they have multiple prey stored in a certain manner where they already hang on thorns. Sometimes also in the settlements you find them using the barbed wire, off he goes, using the barbed wires to impale the insects on the wires. Very, very long tail. Sometimes this bird is commonly mistaken to be the long-tailed shrike, but you can see that conspicuous gray, hence the name greyback shrike. And off he goes. As we go, let's carry on. Let's find something else. Look at this open grass here. Very tall grass. So we're looking for the river pride. We are in the territory of the river pride. And we are heading over to the forest line. See if we can find Romy the leopard. So we keep you tuned. Looks like a very, very chilly afternoon. So we're hoping that the river pride will bring out their cubs to play. Listen, as we drive on, trying to find the river pride, let's send you over to another safari vehicle.
Yeah, I hope you are wrapped up, Tim. It's always good to be wrapped up when it gets cold. I am not a favorite. I don't favor the cold very much. I like it to be warm. It feels like when I'm warm, I'm operating. Otherwise, when I'm cold, I want to be in bed. I don't want to do much. Sleep all day, like a lion. So the other two siblings have decided it's doo-doo's time, sleep time for them. And this one has just been hanging on. It falls asleep, its head tumbles down, it wakes up and back to the nipple. The resilience, I've got to have it. But a really nice sight. I mean, take a look where we're sitting right now. It's incredible. So just wanted to show you that beautiful view there. And Fiona asked a question there, how often will this mother need to hunt? Fiona, when she does go away, it'll be for up to 24 hours, maybe even a bit longer sometimes. But on average, she'll hunt every two days here. She has to keep the intake going because she needs to produce quite a lot of milk. So like I mentioned there, a couple of 100 mils a day for now at the stage that these cubs are. But as they get older, that hunger just grows and it is insatiable. So from there on out, she will need to hunt almost every day for these little ones. But like this now, every second, third day, she's got enough milk to push through 2-3 days until she really needs to go off. And then these little ones will find a spot inside that thick, tangled mess of those trunks, and they will remain hidden. She'll go off and hunt, and obviously make a kill, and then she'll come back. Obviously, the intake, she needs to keep that intake going. The more she takes in, the more milk she can produce. And unfortunately, with lions, if there's a shortage of large hoof ungulates or large prey items, and if she can't get what she needs, that's unfortunately that it is what it is, that she will abandon them. Her safety is number one. It's not uncommon for lionesses to abandon little cubs. She has to ensure that she is healthy and she is fit. At a carcass as well, she won't really care too much about the cubs. She needs to ensure her safety is on a high priority list. So every 2-3 days she'll go off, leave these little cubbies, hopefully successful, and back over here to feed and groom them. And when she is here, she's here. She's not wandering off behind the bushes. She's laying very close to them, a lot of play, a lot of attention, and you'll find that females don't lose that play behavior. Males do at their older ages, especially around 2-3 years old, they stop playing, but females can be very playful throughout their lives. And that's obviously very important when these cubs get a little bit older, that she'll join in. She'll actually play with them and ensure that they're developing their life skills at a steady pace so that they are successful. And I mean, an experienced lioness is all what it takes. You need to have the knowledge and the understanding on how to raise these little ones, how to look after them, how to protect them. Glenn and myself were talking now, it's got to be such a scary thing. I mean, mom leaving these little ones and all the smells and all the sounds being left over here, it must be terrifying. But it is the rite of passage that these little ones need to go through. That one is asleep. It is literally asleep. Mom is also fast asleep. And it's stays like today. Cloud cover, a little bit of a breeze. It is just too perfect. Sitting here and watching these amazing animals. It is asleep. So how many lions are in this pride? So this female is one female of 9 in a pride. And there's 2 prides. There's the northern pride, which likes to occur around the northern sections of this area that we're in now. And then there's a southern pride. And they're also around about 8, 9 years old. In this specific pride, there's 4 big females and then younger males and females within that core unit. And she would be here for a little while, and then when these little ones have enough give, so to say, she will then introduce them, and that little pride will grow in numbers, which will be really nice. Introducing cubs is a very, very fun thing to see, and everybody's really curious. That's why she has to ensure that these cubs are old enough that they can stand their ground, because if there's older cubs in the pride, they tend to be a little rough and they can hurt these little ones. So she wants to ensure that they obviously develop, and once they're strong enough, that pride will grow bigger. So all in total 9 in this pride. That's excluding the males. There's 4 big males that dominate this area. It's a coalition of 4 males, and they've been recently brought into Tswalu to obviously ensure the genetic diversity of lions, especially Kalahari black mane lions. We need to do that. As in most species, you want to ensure that the genetic value, the content is extremely diverse, because if you start to interfere with the genetic pool, you have animals being susceptible to diseases. You might have, funny forms. So ensuring their safety, we have to obviously watch what happens with these prides, and keeping tabs on them is very important, and very important for the ecology of Tswalu.
We've just been having the most unbelievable time. We heard some giant eagle owls in this sort of thick drainage line area going, oh, 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 oh. So we came and we found them. They flushed, and then they gave, obviously, a big fright to the 2 Wahlberg's eagles. And the Wahlberg's eagles bombed it, and they made physical contact 3 times, and eventually the owl escaped back up from whence it came. Can you see it, Solly? Yeah. Solly can see the eagle. Let's just go quickly down here. Oh, a giraffe, not the eagle. Giraffe will do. Let's go up this way. I can see the giraffe from here. And naturally, it flew off as you came to see it. There's the giraffe now walking away. Just go up here. We might get a view of the eagle. It's one of our 2 Wahlberg's eagles, the pale one and the sort of plain browny one. But I think they've all disappeared now. Let's have a look at those babblers instead. Those are the arrow-marked babblers. You can hear them shouting at each other, and probably at us, and also at the fright of watching the eagle and the owl fighting with each other. Really, very exciting stuff going on here in the avian world. I can still hear the eagle calling. Ah, there it is. I can see it. Come hither, BK. There it flies above our heads. Did you see it? No, come this way. There's another one. Otherwise, no one will believe us. They will think we may... Oh, now they've both flown off. Oh, they're chasing the other owl. impossible to get this on screen. I think those were the starlings. We'll see if we can get another view.
We've got two upside-down hyenas here. They both were sniffing down on the ground, and then they rolled in something. So there must have been a scent that they enjoy, that they want on their furs. See, that one is still sniffing. That one is now rolling around again. And this might be part of the same clan that was following the wild dogs we saw very, very briefly. We have actually just done a big loop around the roads in this area to see if we can maybe try and predict where they were moving and see if we could see them crossing out of the area off behind those hyenas. If it is part of the same clan, I don't think these are the same two that we might have seen trailing those wild dogs when we were there briefly. Just because, I mean, they would be on the ground and they'll be wanting to try and stick with those wild dogs, because as soon as they catch something, those hyenas would want to rush in and try and steal it. But it's interesting to see they're spending so much time rolling around there, and I wonder if we can figure out what it might be that they're rolling around in. I can't see anything through my binoculars. And I can't really see anything on the coat of the hyena that's just stood up. They spent a lot of time trying to roll around on their back. It could, I mean, I'm sure it's dung or something. Oh, that hyena's got, you see now, it looks like it's turned its attention towards where we last saw those wild dogs. It might have picked up the scent of them. That one standing up facing to the right has got lots of scars all over its face. They're both back on the ground. It's so interesting. See, that one on the left-hand side has actually got very, very dark feet. So it's the younger one of the two. But it's also got a very, very deep scar on the left eye, just to the left of the left eye. So Enoch, you've asked a good question, and a lot of it has got to do with masking their scent. And so these predators, when they see some dung, they'll roll around in that dung, I guess just to try and mask their scent a little bit. And I mean, hyenas do it. I've seen wild dogs do it. I've seen leopard do it. I haven't really seen lions do it actually, but I'm sure they would if they got the chance. So it's just got to do with masking their scent and trying to prevent animals from smelling them if they're trying to hunt. So now at the moment, the wind is pushing from us onto those hyenas. And so those wild dogs, if they were wanting to hunt, they would probably try and move into the wind so their scent gets blown away, because they're actually very strong scented. If you are in a sighting with wild dogs, you are going to smell them, and they've got a very, very, very strong scent. And so moving into the wind allows their scent to be pushed away from the direction that they're going, which means that the impalas, maybe the kudus, whatever they're trying to hunt, won't be able to smell them. And hopefully they get that little bit of that element of surprise. big yawn by the one on the left there. It's even got a little notch on its ears, a bit of missing fur, probably from fighting over some sort of carcass. These two hyenas, the way that they're behaving, definitely happen to become aware of those wild dogs. And so they probably haven't moved in this direction. So I think Owen and I might just reposition ourselves and just do exactly what we're doing now. Just sit and wait. And maybe the wild dogs come in our direction.
Here we have got a little group of giraffes. There are 3 of them. And I was just thinking that our experiment that we began when I was last here is bearing out. And that experiment, in case you missed it, was to evaluate whether or not giraffe bulls found in the company of other giraffe were lighter or darker than those bulls found on their own. Because it is postulated, indeed it has been found by a paper recently, that darker bulls tend to be found on their own, greater risk takers they are, higher testosterone levels they think, and here it is borne out again. We've got 2 cows and 1 bull, and the bull is light, and he is in company with the ladies. And of course the obvious inference is that it's riskier to be on your own than it is to be in a small group. It's a most glorious afternoon. Delicious temperature. Lovely feeling of kind of thick, not quite cloying, but thick tropical type air, which makes me feel of verdance. It is a verdant day. Fertility of spring is all around us. Right, let's carry on. That giraffe sighting is what we might describe as rank average. Kendra, they probably get marginally darker with age, but not necessarily no. And we'll just quickly give you an observation of the fine 2 who are helping us on our walk today. William, sitting down, and Solly on security. They're doing some tracking and spotting and general company for BK and I. It's been a wonderful walk so far. I'm highly satisfied. On we go. Wave at the camera, Solly. You're on TV. The eagle. You've got it. The owl went. Okay. All right. Solly spotted the owl and the eagle again. Let's see if we can go and find them. There's the eagle.
And I am looking for the leopard that James on Bushwalk had heard calling. Around the same area, they're on Gari Cutline. But the ground's so hard from the rains, it's very difficult to see tracks. So first I went eastern Garik on Central, because that's where they heard it. Gari Cutline Central, and I couldn't find any tracks. Then I went west. So now I'm on Mvubu. Interestingly though, 2 days ago, I saw June walking this way towards the Mvubu Road Den. The problem was, Elise, that this road particularly is closed when it's raining because it's in a very sensitive area, and also it's got lots of twists and turns, so you can become unstable quickly. Let's see what's happening here. So because of that, we couldn't check it when she was walking this way. So we just went to check it now, and there's some fresh digging. Oh yes, you are very strong. You are very, very strong. This is... Well, we'll let him display first, and then I'll tell you about what this is. These two are sizing each other up.
Yeah, shallow. I'm not trying.
And the reason they're doing what they're doing, because the rest of the herd is on this end, on the other side of me. But this one's coming to cause trouble for me. The reason that they're doing what they're doing is that they look the right age to start getting pushed out of the herd. And they start behaving this way around 10, even a little bit earlier, the males. And that's the time for the herd to start really pushing them out. Already they're on the fringes. So they'll start fighting with each other, other males that are similar aged, eventually moving out. At this one, you can tell, even if they're eating, you can tell when they're not relaxed. This guy's going through some family issues. He's growing up, and we wish him well on that journey.
We've managed to come across the giant eagle owl. It's not a great view, but you can see him perched in a tree that he'd never normally be perched in, and he's in it because it provides him some kind of protection from the eagle which has been bombing him. And I suspect that the eagle will probably come back again. It came and sat in the tree just above his head and then flew off again. And I think that if that owl breaks cover before dark, it will be thumped on the head by the Wahlberg's eagle. So I'm glad we managed to at least show you the giant eagle owl. Its partner went off up towards the top of this dry riverbed, and I think is probably quite safely tucked up again in its tambuti tree. While here we've got poor old male or female, I don't know which, on its own, trying to hide in a very unsuitable tree. And the eagle, I can hear, is shouting still from somewhere quite close by. And I suspect it will come through and bomb the owl again. Very interesting. I might get a better view, but I think that owl is very much caught up in some thick bush where it can avoid the eagle.
All right, from Cheetahs Lions. And now I have a beautiful scene here set by the evening sun, zebras, flies, wildebeest, and the beautiful desert date, plus plenty of grass. What more can I ask? Look at this. It's a beautiful scene. You can see the white beard of the gnu, very evident, and a lot of flies. I don't know why the cattle egrets and the swallows are not here, because they would be making a kill. They'd be feasting on these little flying insects. Yeah, it is such a wonderful, setting. And these, sometimes, you have to wait until the sun goes down to find this kind of lighting. This is the photographer's paradise and also time. Oh, look at the giraffe at the back. Look at the sun. How beautiful is that? Yes. Looks like the giraffe is on a mission. Get away from the noisy wildebeest and zebra, maybe. Yeah, beautiful. Look at that. Remember to talk to us. #WildEarth. Question, comments are very welcome. Also, send in question for your kids at Wild Earth TV. And we will answer you live and direct from one of our locations. Yeah, I'm loving this. I hope you're doing the same. The wildebeest here looks like they're very scattered, which is very typical when they're not going anywhere. They're eating the grass. It's very, very quiet. There's no noise apart from a few crickets every now and then, and I'm loving it. Let's see what else we have on the frame. The backdrop at the back there is the escarpment, which forms the boundary between the reserve of the triangle and human beings. That's a beautiful setting there. What else do we have, Bungay? Some more wildies. In this section, there are not very many, and looks like there are 2 or more bulls. I like how the light catches their horns and they look very shiny. Do you see that? Also the texture of the tail, you can see also shiny. Yeah, that tail must be very useful with all these flies. I can't imagine being here and not knowing what a bath or a shower is. Those flies would eat you alive. And that's why they have tough skins, so that these flies don't bite through. Beautiful. Look at that. This is a very relaxed gnu, and looks like everything that is on his mind is eating. I'm sure he feels very safe with all the wildebeest around him and giraffe. And that's why he's concentrating on getting as much as possible on this last night. Maybe he doesn't know what the night will bring, and so it's a good time to accumulate as much as possible. Thank you for turning around. I was wondering when you're gonna show us your head. Anushka Jumbo, you want to know if wildebeest eat insects. It is not in their diet, but while trying to get the grass onto their mouths, I'm sure they do eat them unknowingly, and I don't know if they add taste to the grass or they drop the grass, but they do eat, they do eat them. And not only them, but most grazers do eat insects unknowingly. It's not part of their diet, but because they're hiding there, they're trying to get away from things like birds, these flies and insects. They stay on the grass, and the wildebeest comes and, trying to feed on the grass. It will definitely feed on them, but it's not on their diet. Anushka? Yeah, back to our beautiful evening scene. It's such an amazing setting. Who's that flying across? Looked like a heron. Kelena, you want to know why wildebeest have white beards? It is natural, very much like where how you have black hair, or I don't know what color is your hair. It is natural for their beard to be white, and for no apparent reason that I know, they use it. It's just part of them being wildebeest. Anushka, here looks like we have a group of males, and how I can tell that they're males is that they have very thick horns in the middle. They're bigger build than the females, and actually you can tell they have a belly button. It's another way of saying of telling when they're on side profile. Look at that beautiful white beard. They are very pronounced when they stand against the sun like that. The tree you see there, it's a different one. It's not the desert date, it's a boskia. It's one of our other trees that we find here in the Mara, also called the shepherd's tree. Yeah, I'm gonna stay here for a little bit, maybe drive another 100 meters because there's some zebra heading my way. But while I do that, let's take you to another location.
I think this afternoon we'll also be gifted with a wonderful sunset. This cloud cover that we have, these stratus clouds, I'm sure are going to make for a spectacular sunset. Clouds always make sunsets a bit more dramatic. Obviously, the light hitting the top layers of the clouds itself, and then that light being illuminated down to us over here. But it really does make something a bit more interesting when you've got a bit of cloud cover. And I love clouds. Watching clouds, you'll never see the same set of clouds. It's always changing, and it's creative. It's nature being at its most creative. It's beautiful. We are just relaxing here, relaxing as the lions are relaxing. We're following the same flow. And how beautiful are those mountains? The beautiful Koronenberg mountain range, part of a big geological group called the Olifantshoek supergroup. Olifantshoek, it means elephant's corner, translated from Afrikaans, and hence the name supergroup. It's quite a large feature, and we're sitting almost on the most northern extremity of this beautiful, beautiful mountain range. And I love mountains. Oh, I love everything, actually. But what a treat. So the mountain range allowing for other inhabitants to inhabit here. very important habitat for mountain zebra. Sure, I didn't hear the full message there, but so I heard somewhere on the lines that it impresses you. It impresses me on a daily basis. I got the name Megan. Thank you for your comment. It is just Twali's... Twali's skyscraper's always impressed you. It is very impressive. Yeah, it's just constant eye candy, I like to refer to as having different things to look at all the time. So this big auntie is out for the count. She's rolled over once, and there was one little cub that we watched it. It was on the nipple for at least 25 minutes. It moved from one nipple to the next. Mom rolled over. It rolled over with mom and went on feeding. I'm sure it must be sleeping now. So you can see the ferocious appetite. And this lady, being older and more skillful in hunting, would be a big positive factor to ensure the cub's safety from here on out. But she's designed in every manner. If you look at her, she's designed and built to be concealed. Obviously, males have a lower success rate when it comes to hunting. The females do a large majority of the hunting, and males will join when it's larger prey items such as giraffe or buffalo, really large items where you need the excess weight and power to bring down these large hoofed ungulates. Also very dangerous, so a very tricky stage, but she's got the skills necessary, I'm sure of that. But you can see the nooks and crannies that are created by this boskia or shepherd's tree. Could you just go up slightly for us there, Glenn? Over to the left, and look at all those little hiding spots that these three little cubs can find or seek refuge when mom is away. Because that's what they'll do. They'll go into those little cracks, into those little nooks and crannies, and they will remain hidden. Cubs at this stage could even be picked up by large raptors, such as Varro's eagle, commonly or previously known as black eagle, snake eagle, would even give it a go. So this is the perfect spot for these little ones to remain safe.
So we did some circuits around, gave Lagatha a bit of time to settle down. Remember, we had that other vehicle approaching earlier, so we left her. And look at her, she's sitting out in the open and she's panting up a storm. Look at that belly. It literally couldn't be any more full than it is right now. So she's actually moved out of the drainage line into the open where there's a bit more of a breeze. It's a very stuffy and hot afternoon, so she's not cooling down quickly. And so she needs all the breeze that she can get. And you can see she's lying on what is old farmland. So we're right near what I mentioned was the HQ, or like the old farm buildings. So she's lying on some of the old fields. Now cleared. It'll take a bit of time for the environment to rehabilitate itself, but she's using it to great effect. Of course, these old open areas are, prime areas for herbivores to graze, like impalas and even the nyalas, like the young male nyala that she's caught. We still haven't really seen, we can't really get a glimpse of it, but there you can see her lying out, gorgeous in the open. So you see her ears are back. Do you see that? That's not because of us. That's because she's listening to what's behind her. She's looking towards us. Of course, we're the most interesting thing around, so she's making sure that we're, in her line of sight. But then she wants to listen behind. We just stopped on the boundary for a while to try and see if we could glimpse a male lion who's currently lying next to a giraffe carcass not so far from here. But we couldn't really see him. He was lying flat in the grass, so there was no visual. But he was calling earlier today, and so she's definitely aware of him, and she wants to just make sure that she doesn't get snuck up on, lest she get a few more scars, which she'd probably like to avoid, being such a young female. It's not time to get into conflict with large male lions. But it's so peaceful right now. Seb and I both think that we're gearing, or that the environment is gearing up for another big storm, because everything is just very subdued right now. There's not many birds calling. There's not really much wind. Everything is just very, very still. It's actually perfect for Lagatha because now that she's got more food, she doesn't want it to be windy or anything. She wants it to be nice and still so that she can hear anything sneaking up to her carcass. Anything like a leopard she could defend herself from, chase it off, but anything like a group of hyenas or a male lion, she won't want to be caught off guard.
Well, I cannot resist sharing another photogenic, beautiful sunset with you. And there it is, so beautiful. And that's how our day starts to end. I hope you're enjoying this. It's really, really cool. Look at that. On the foreground, there is some animals. I don't know if you can see them. One by one, and they're going from right to left. So beautiful. It is the setting. Sometimes I think animals think that they're going to go to a safer spot, and so they leave one to go to the other, and sometimes it's the worst mistake. And these zebras are actually heading back towards where they were not supposed to, because they were heading towards the plains, and now they're going back to a very wooded area. I don't know who came up with that decision, but that's what they're doing. Remember, these are the Burchell's zebra, the only one of its kind that we find here in the Masai Mara. And those two looks like males, and they are trying to get away from this area. It's very bushy, but where they're heading is actually even bushier. On top of the tree, we have who? A vulture. The silhouette tells me it's a vulture. I'm sure you're saying he doesn't have a head. He does have a head. He's only tucked it in, maybe trying to get comfortable and get ready for the night, for the cold night. I'm gonna leave you to enjoy that sunset sight for a little bit.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala. Marna has helped us out a lot, and she's just managed to find this leopard. And she's lying in one of the biggest jackalberries that I've seen in this area. And she's looking so comfortable. Look how high she is up in the tree. To make it even more special, across the river, no more than 200 meters away, in front of us, we've got a herd of buffalo that are crossing. Looks like a small herd, so maybe just a group of buffalo bulls. But they are crossing the river very slowly, and they've got absolutely no idea that this leopard is here. So that one in shot is a big bull. You can see those very big horns that he has and that very pronounced boss. And the rest of them look almost exactly the same. So it's quite a large group of buffalo bulls. And they have probably come from a waterhole that's not too far away from this area. So they might just be heading across the river to an area to go and have a graze, or maybe to settle down for the night. So let's go back to this leopard, and you can see she is so high up, looking very comfortable. Her back legs are on either side of the branch. She's got her head down. She's sleeping, and apparently there is a carcass around here. Marina was telling us I don't think we're in the right angle to see it yet. I have been scanning the branches in this tree, and there's a chance that it could be on the ground. This female, especially if it's quite a heavy carcass, she battles to hoist it, and this tree is huge. I mean, from the first branch that sticks, or the first V where she'll be able to put it up, is probably about 3.5 meters tall. So it'll be quite a tough order for her to hoist it that high. Neva, she certainly is high, and it's one of the only, what's the lowest suitable branch for her to be resting on. And it's interesting why she decided to choose this branch. And maybe she decided to get quite high up, and today it's been very hot and humid, and maybe she was just trying to get to a slightly higher vantage point to catch more of a breeze. So within this riverbed, if we were to lie down here, all of the bushes around us would have acted like a natural barrier, and we wouldn't quite get as much breeze as she would be getting up at the top of the tree there. And so for her, positioning herself very high up in the tree serves a few advantages. Like I said, it cools her down, but then it gives her the opportunity to scan all the way around her. So she's not looking completely full, although she does have a carcass here. So, if she didn't have a carcass, it might be an opportunity for her to look for something to hunt. But now that she does have a carcass, it's just an opportunity to look for potential threats coming her way. And she needs to keep a constant lookout, because this is one of the females on the reserve who have got a cub with her that she's looking after. And she's done well. The cub is over a year old, but it's still very vulnerable. And so if the cub is somewhere around here, she'll need to be alert and make sure that something like a leopard or a hyena, maybe even some lions, don't come and try and kill it. Oh, she's up. And just look at the branches and the leaves moving in the background there. She's just changing her position. Nice of her to turn around for us. We get to see her face for a brief moment. Oh, that's an interesting position for her to be lying. Almost if she falls asleep, it looks like she could roll off the branch. And so we've got 25 minutes left of the show. I hope that she decides to bring out her cub so we can see 2 leopards in one tree. But so we'll stay put and hope for the best. Now we've come across this ostrich that is by himself and is wandering off and making sure that he is not in danger. Look at how he's scanning and watching around. Now, relative to their eyes, ostriches have very small, teeny tiny brains. Because the brain scalp is super small, so they have to have a very good vision. That is one of the things they use to walk away from predators and also to check on predators. Despite them having a very fast motion, they're the fastest on 2 legs, actually second from the cheetah. Look at how pink his neck is and his leg. I like the way he's slowly swallowing something. Look at how he's getting over. Nice. He keeps on turning. It's getting cool and dark also. So he needs to be in an open space. The good advantage that they have is when he will sit down, he is totally concealed. And because of when it comes to dark, the black feathers will help camouflage. Actually, doing a little cleanup there. Ian, thank you so much for your question. Do ostriches sleep standing up? Sometimes they do what you call rest or sleep standing, which is not that long of a sleep,
but I'll say just a little sleep or rest. But when they sit down, they can actually sleep. But generally speaking, being a vulnerable species like this, it can fall prey to lions, hyenas, cheetah, or even leopard. So they don't sleep that much. They only take short intervals to rest or to sleep. It's cleaning there. I think one of the legs needs a little scratch, clean off. Look at how dark his feathers are. This is the common or Maasai ostrich. He's so pink because he's on his breeding plumage. When birds come into the breeding plumage, they tend to be bright in color and dark, which is attractive to females. And when ostrich come into that breeding plumage, their feathers become more black, and see the tip of the feathers, and then the tail there is super white, and also the white pink legs and the pink neck. He's watching over because this time lions will be coming out, hyenas will be coming out. It's time for predators to look for prey. And this guy needs to go somewhere where he can spend the entire night. Remember, we're coming to you live, #WildEarth. Comment questions on the YouTube comment section at FC. Young viewers at kids questions at wildearth.tv. So they normally pick a place where it's warm enough to shelter away from the cold and then rest for the entire night. I like the way he's grooming himself. And I'm going to take a little time here as we send you over to another safari vehicle.
I love the color of the ostrich when it's all ready to mate. We very briefly saw some baboons, and they were also mating, also very briefly, and then they ran off into the bushes, as are most of the animals I'm seeing today. I was telling you about the Mvubu Road Den. I said to you, the last thing I said to you before we got our attention got taken by the elephants, was that there was some new digging by the big main den entrance hole. So I'm hoping that we just keep on checking, and one day we'll be there at the right time. And maybe June will be there. That'd be awesome. There was, we did see a hyena on Galago, Mvubu, and I stopped and was hoping it was going to go to the den. But I couldn't actually recognize the hyena. Maybe it's Falco, because I'm still getting used to recognizing Falco. Maybe it was him. But then didn't go in the direction of the den, instead went to the direction of Vuyatela Dam. So I'm gonna keep an eye out there. Because remember previously I saw her investigating Gwen's old den, the one cheetah cutline fire break in the southeast. So I think some possibilities there. Anyway, we're gonna keep on looking for that last minute leopard. Give us some luck.
We've moved a tiny bit more forward, where we could get into a position where we could see her face, and she's resting really nicely up against the log that was initially blocking our view. And if we pan over slowly, we just managed to find the remains, or the kill that she's made and successfully hoisted up. So she's done it incredibly well. I mean, it's almost exactly the same height as she, and it's a vertical branch. So she drags it all the way up there. And just see it tucked away. Look how high it is. And remember, she's using her jaws and her front feet, basically, to claw her way up that tree. And we've been having a bit of a debate to try and figure out what she might have caught. And we thought it might be an opportunity for some of the viewers to guess. And so if anyone has any suggestions and thinks they might know what it is, feel free to let us know in the comment section. And we'll see if any of you are right. I'll give you a couple of clues. So if we zoom back into the carcass again, if you look at the front, so it's facing towards us basically, and if you look at the front foot, there's a white dot, which is something that might be able to tell you. And then it's quite a rusty red color. It's quite hard to see the actual color of the coat because she spent a lot of time plucking off all of the fur all over the torso of the said animal. You see those bald patches all over that flank of whatever it is. And so she must have caught it and realized that it was small enough for her to take up the tree. And so she hasn't actually really started feeding on it because she doesn't look too full. Her stomach is actually quite indented. So Miva, you are disqualified because you gave us two options. You can't give us an impala or a duiker. You have to choose one. But it's neither. So unfortunately you got it wrong, but keep the answers coming in. Let's see if we can get the right answer. Yeah, so Bianca, well done. I think you are the first person to get it right. We think it's a bushbuck. So to all the viewers who said bushbuck, well done. Very good guess. And so it looks like it's a very small bushbuck. So I would imagine that it's a tiny bushbuck that's brand new. And I mean, she must have, it could have even been opportunistic the way that she hasn't started feeding off of it immediately. So she might have just been resting up, not necessarily looking for something to hunt. And the mother and the youngster could have walked straight into her path. And she probably thought that it was an opportunity too good not to take. So it would be awesome if we could get her to move towards the carcass and at least feed for a bit. And like I was saying, I mean, she hasn't really fed on the carcass at all. You would see that very swollen stomach if she had started feeding. But she, I think, is just enjoying this temperature dropping with the breeze. She looks very happy. I mean, that carcass is completely safe from almost anything. I think the only thing that might come in and take it away from her would potentially be another leopard. And over the last couple of months, we've been watching a young male leopard who it almost seems like one of his techniques to try and get food is to follow this female leopard to eventually where she might be able to have a kill, just like this. So I wouldn't be half surprised if we came back here tomorrow morning and we find a young male leopard feeding on this carcass, if it's still around. And see how heavily she's panting. And I mean, the temperature is dropping considerably now, so she's still feeling the effects of the heat. So just resting up in this tall tree, getting the breeze is exactly where she wants to be. So hopefully we get her up and moving towards that carcass.
Glenn just made a comment here. It's definitely a Sunday afternoon. By the sight over here, a lazy Sunday afternoon. Little cubbies are up and about. A little bit of play happening behind Mom. And after that little cat nap, they've decided now they've got enough energy. We will irritate each other. There's a few peeks every now and then over Mom's rib cage there, just to see what we're doing. And especially when I had a little snack, the little one looked at me like, more food. Glenn got us a little snack out the snack box. You got to keep fueled up out here to carry on. And nourishment, and including moisture, a bit of water, is very important while on game drive. Staying hydrated. Where these cubs have had enough of hydration today. But absolutely incredible. I am still on top of the moon about this sighting. As I said before, it is a real privilege to be able to be here, and what a privilege we have to share it with all of you folks. And most importantly, thank you for the time. Thank you for taking the time to be with us, because without you guys, this would be, it would be just that. But with you viewers, it is so much more special. And we can share knowledge, and we can learn from each other, because that's what it's all about. All the questions that we've been asked really stimulates my mind and allows me to be better. Kind of put myself in a corner. Us guys, we do fill our hard drives with a lot of information. And sometimes when a question comes across, you're like, oh no, what's going on here now? But it's all part of it. Oh, listen out quickly, you're going to hear tick, 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 tick. Barking geckos are starting to call around us. Oh, they are very active now. So they'll start settling down under the cover of darkness. They will definitely take it easy. And tonight they have safety of Mother being here. Just like I mentioned, it's not uncommon for her to leave 12, 24 hours, leave these cubs by themselves to do their thing. And anything will get their attention. Small lizards, rodents, birds. Anything gets their attention. Anything that moves gets their attention at this point. So, playing with sticks, playing with each other. I don't know if you guys could just hear that. Tick, 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 tick. One of the typical sounds in summer is the barking gecko. In the midst of summer here, December period, the eruption of these little geckos can almost be deafening. A typical sound of the Kalahari. And thinking about it, reptiles don't really vocalize, except for geckos. So hearing this amazing sound made by this tiny little gecko is something to behold. Oh, Mommy, you're in our stretch. Oh. It looks so like she's in her place when she rolls over like it. It's like, oh, okay, let me try this side. It's almost like laying in the bed and you've been laying on one side for too long and you adjust. Oh, I'm sure you guys heard that one. But yeah, very nice afternoon we've had now. This cloud cover is just very welcomed. So we're sitting on the vehicle here. You guys can hear it. Fantastic. Amazing sound. The whole reptile world is fairly quiet except for geckos. It's also the most diverse or speciosus group there is of reptiles. Many different species inhabiting a wide range of habitats. Very interesting creatures. There, Mom's getting up. Yes. Such a big, powerful animal. She's so gentle. I mean, the action of her carrying these little ones, you should see the delicacy that she would use with those massive jaws to pick that little cub up to locate it. I wonder if we should just move back a little bit, Glenn. She's actually grooming. I'm just going to move the vehicle back slightly, folks. We've been trying to stay in one spot. Obviously, vehicle movement around a site like this is quite sensitive. And you want to keep respect in mind all the time. But Mommy is definitely awake. I mean, look at those big teeth. When she opens that mouth again, take a look at those teeth. gentle giant. She's licking her lips like she's hungry. But a very devoted mom. And she's doing a fantastic job so far. But we'll be sure in the next coming weeks to make sure that we follow up on her and we can see the progression with these little ones. We're also going to be revisiting the mom and 3 as well, just to get an update on them. They're still somewhere down south. Look at that. So using those backward-facing barbs to remove hair or debris from her neck. Very efficient tool how she cleans herself. Good grooming session. You can see on her throat there that cattle lousefly that we looked at yesterday, just in between her fur. Hairball, but wonderful.
Well, I'm glad you have seen one cat that's half awake and up and moving around a little bit more. This female leopard hasn't really done too much more than what you've seen here. I think the biggest movement that she's done is she's put both of her front legs on either side of the branch. But none of that typical cat behavior like you've been watching in Tswali, where that lioness was grooming herself and yawning. This leopardess hasn't done any of that. And so that tells us that she's very comfortable in the position that she is, and she's not looking to get active anytime soon. I would love for her to walk across that branch, though. It would be such a picturesque moment of her getting up and almost silhouetted against the skyline as she walks across that branch towards the carcass. And she would eventually have to jump across to the other side to get to it. So that would be ideal. We've got 3.5 minutes, and Owen said that he can definitely make it happen for us. So if it doesn't happen, you can blame him. But she is really in such a beautiful spot. So Tove, typically not very many threats whatsoever. You know, the only potential threat would be other leopards, I would say. Just like I was saying, a young male leopard follows this particular leopard around, who's actually her brother. Yeah, half brother, I guess. They both share the same mother. And that's really the only threat to her. Otherwise, hyenas will come around and sniff around the base of the tree, and if they're lucky enough, they might pick up the scraps of the bones that she might be dropping. Lions don't have that power to weight ratio to climb a tree this high. So she's very, very safe from almost anything, barring other leopards, I would say. You know, and there's a chance that she'll get up, and because the carcass is so small, if she feeds on it, she could feed almost on the entire carcass within an hour or two. And so once she's done, she would potentially move away. We're just saying, I mean, we've had very sporadic viewings of this female leopard recently, and the last time I saw her was before September, I think. So almost a month, maybe 5-6 weeks ago. And even then, I hadn't seen her cub. But there's a good chance that she's still got it somewhere around. You know, maybe she's just taking a break from it. She's left it in a spot. She could potentially jump down the tree and go down and have a look and bring the cub back to this kill. It's been another wonderful day out here in the African bush. I mean, we've been able to find all sorts of wonderful things from you up in the Masai Mara, all the way down to Pinde, on the southernmost reserve. I mean, here at Ngala, we've just been able to see things like we've just had a brief view of those wild dogs, but I think this leopardess for this afternoon has certainly taken the prize for one of the best sightings that I've experienced this afternoon at Ngala. And I mean, if you think about everything that we've seen, it's been a wonderful day. So hopefully everything carries on as good as it has been tomorrow morning. And we'll be here in exactly the same place at the same time, looking to show you and bring you wonderful animal sightings throughout the whole of Africa. So that's us from Anbion and Ngala saying good night to you, and we hope to see you all tomorrow morning.
Greetings, and a very warm welcome in the Masai Mara of Kenya. We have some 2 lions talking here. My name is Tim, and welcome aboard to your very own safari line.